In this video, we are going to look at how to write any number as a percent equivalent. So if you look at this picture here, we have 10 circles in this rectangle, and 3 of them are purple. So we can write our fraction 3 over 10. Another way we could represent this is we could also express this as a percentage. So if we want to talk about what percent of the circles are purple, we would say 30%. So over here we have fractions. That's the 3 over 10. We have decimals, the 0.3. And then we don't have an example of this here, but we could have a mixed number or an improper fraction. So what we're trying to do is convert this, fractions, mixed numbers, decimals, into percentages. And if you look at 0.3 versus 30, you'll see that if we multiply 0.3 by 100%, we get 30. So if we have a fraction or a decimal or a mixed number or an improper fraction, we can multiply it by 100% to get into percentage form. And then if we wanted to go the other way, if we wanted to go from percentages back into our fraction or decimal, we would divide by 100%. And this is an important thing to be able to do because when you are reporting percentages, you generally want to report it in the percentage form. But when you are doing calculations, you usually want to be working with most typically the decimal form, perhaps the fraction form, but generally the decimal form of the number. So it's important to be able to interconvert because you want to talk about percentages in this form, but when you're doing the math, you want to be using it in this form. So let's practice how to convert a decimal number into a percentage. So 0.56, what we have to do is multiply by 100%. And when you multiply 0.56 by 100%, you get 56. And take a look at the decimal place. Here I didn't write a decimal, but if I did, it would be right there. When I multiplied by 100%, my decimal moved 1, 2 to the right. So that's a shortcut you can use. If you're converting into a percentage, you're moving your decimal 2 to the right. So let's look at this one, 1.55. We're going to multiply by 100%, which means our decimal place is going to go right there, and we get 155%. You can have percentages over 100%. It doesn't have to stop at 100%. 0.007 is in decimal form. Let's convert it into percentage form. We're going to multiply by 100%, which means we're moving our decimal 1, 2 to the right, and we get 0.7%. Now, this type of number sometimes throws people off because it's less than 1 and it has a decimal in it still, yet you know it's percent form because it has a percentage sign. So just be careful about that. You can have a decimal in your number even if the number is a percent. Final example, we have the number 3. We're going to multiply by 100%. Now we know we're moving our decimal 2 to the right. If you ever don't see a decimal in a number, it's just at the very end. So we're going to move it 1, 2, which means 3 is 300%. Let's look at fractions and mixed numbers and converting them into a percentage. So it's the same exact thing. We are still multiplying by 100%, just like we were with the previous examples. We can set this over 1. And then you see we have 100% here and 100 there, those cancel. The percentage didn't cancel because there's no percent sign down here, but the 100s cancel. So now we have 15 divided by 1, that's 15, and we need to keep the percentage sign. So 15 over 100 is 15%. Let's try 1/5. Multiply by 100. We could break down the 100 into 5 times 20. Let's keep the percentage sign there. The 5's go away. We have 1 times 20 divided by 1. That's 20%. With a mixed number, what we want to do is convert it into an improper fraction first. So we're going to multiply our whole number by the denominator and then add it to the numerator. And that becomes our new numerator. So 2.5 is 5 over 2. And if we want to convert it into percentage form, we're going to multiply by 100. We can change that to 50 and that to 1. And 50 times 5 gives us 250%. Here we already have an improper fraction, so we can multiply by 100. We get 300 over 2. Which simplifies to 150%. Now let's look at going the other way. So we want to start with a percent and we want to convert it to decimal form. So if we are going to convert this to decimal form, what we're going to do now is divide by 100. And another way that we could have written this is with a second fraction. But instead of the 100 being on top, which would mean multiplication, the 100% would be on the bottom, meaning division. And if we wanted to, we could put this over 1 as well. So for the top of our fraction, we have 13 times 1, that's 13. For the bottom of our fraction, we have 1 times 100, that's 100. And then our percentage signs canceled out. So this would be in fraction form. But then we could divide 13 by 100 to get it in decimal form, or 0.13. Now a quicker way to do this is by moving our decimal place. When we were going into percentage form, we moved our decimal 2 to the right. When we're in percentage form, we're not multiplying by 100 now, we're dividing by 100. So we can move our decimal place 2 to the left. 1, 2. So 22.3% is 0.223 in decimal form. Notice we don't have a decimal here, but whenever you don't have a decimal, you put it all the way to the right of your number. So 188%, if we want to convert that into decimal form, we move our decimal 2 to the left, and it's 1.88. And we're getting rid of the percentage sign because really what you're doing is you're taking 188% and you're dividing it by 100%. So those percentage signs cancel out. Next example, 3%. The decimal is right here. We're going to move our decimal 1, 2 to the left, and then you fill in the zeros. So this is 0.03 as a decimal. 0.5%, here we have a percentage which is less than 1% and has a decimal, but we do the same thing. We're converting it into a decimal number. We're going to move it 2 to the left. Fill in with a 0. And we get 0.005, or 0.005 rather. For this last one, our percentage is expressed as a mixed number. So we're going to want to convert this into an improper fraction or into a decimal. I know that 1/5 is the same thing as 2 over 10, which is 0.2. So 14 and 1/5 is 14.2%. Or you could have multiplied 14 times 5. That would give you 70. and then add it to 171 over 5. I like doing it this way just because when you have it as a decimal number, you can easily move your decimal to the left to get it into decimal form. All right, another set of examples. We want to write these percentages as fractions or mixed numbers. So in this case, we're in percentage form. We want to get into fraction or mixed number form. We're going to divide by 100%. So I'm not going to use the trick of moving the decimal for these examples. Percentages go away. I know that 100 breaks up into 4 times 25. So that 25 will cancel with that 25. We'll be left with a 1 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. 1/3%. We are going to multiply by 1 over 100%. The percentage signs go away. We really can't cancel anything else, so 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 100 is 300. 400%. We're going to divide by 100%. 400% divided by 100% gives us 4. You can also do this by canceling the zeros. 1 0 here, 1 0 here, 1 0 here, 1 0 here. Okay, last one. Since we want our answers as fractions or mixed numbers, I'm going to convert this into an improper fraction. So 50 times 2 is 100, plus 1 is 101, divided by 2. And that's a percentage. Then we're going to divide by 100%. The percentage signs go away. We really can't break up 101. So 101 times 1 is 101. 2 times 100 is 200. All right, and in the next video, we're going to look at some more percentage problems.